win 2 games in a row. To keep him occupied, Santa brought him a gift that may one day land him on the team. A few Christmas drivers waved, of course, while Easterly celebrated his 20th day on the billboard. With some luck, he could come down soon. The Hornets, of course, go into Friday's game against New Jersey, still celebrating Monday's victory over the Philadelphia 76ers. 2 victories in a row is a possibility. New Jersey owns one of the worst records in the league.
You might be up there a long time.
Anyway, coming up tomorrow is Live at 5, the latest news from Hollywood.
On Wednesday, Mike Jarek will have a sneak peek. Actually, on Thursday, he'll have a sneak peek at the latest book on Marilyn Monroe. See exclusive photographs from early in her career. That's tomorrow on Live at 5. All you Marilyn Monroe fans might want to tune in for that. That's all we have for Live at 5. Andrea Mitchell sitting in for Tom Brokaw tonight. Let's find out what's going on around the world on Nightly News. Good night.
Have a Merry Christmas, everyone.
I am terminating my activity as President of the USSR.
Mikhail Gorbachev's farewell as the hammer and sickle is lowered over the Kremlin for the last time.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Tonight, sitting in for Tom is Andrea Mitchell.
Good evening and Merry Christmas. Tonight, the end of an era. Just moments before resigning, Mikhail Gorbachev said softly, "If you have to go, you have to go. It's that time." It was a remarkable 7 years. He transformed the rest of the world, but failed to realize his vision at home. In Moscow tonight, NBC's Bob Abernethy. Bob?
Andrea Gorbachev said he was resigning on principle because he could not preserve the Union.
The policy prevailed of dismembering this country and disuniting the state, which is something I cannot subscribe to.
In fact, when the failed coup last August discredited the entire central government, power rushed out to the independent republics, which wanted no more Kremlin rule, hence no Gorbachev.
The most dangerous thing about this crisis is the collapse of statehood. I am concerned about the fact that people in this country are ceasing to be citizens of a great power.
But great power remains. 4 of the independent republics have between them 27,000 nuclear warheads, and Boris Yeltsin, president of the Russian Republic, tonight took control of the codes and signals that could launch them if all 4 nuclear republics agree. In Georgia, the near civil war between supporters and opponents of that republic's president is reported to have eased tonight. Yeltsin said the 11 other republics had refused to admit Georgia to their Commonwealth until it solves its internal problems. Yeltsin also said Soviet troops that had once tried to keep peace in Georgia and between Azerbaijan and Armenia are being withdrawn. Tonight in Moscow at the Kremlin, the red flag of the failed Soviet Union at last came down and the flag of Russia rose. A symbol now of a new experiment here. 11 republics with no central government trying to create for themselves the better life not even Gorbachev could achieve. Gorbachev said he had no regrets about having launched democratic reforms, and he pledged to do all he could to further them. Also, in spite of his reservations about the Commonwealth, he promised to support it. Gorbachev may be tempted by handsome offers from the West, but his message tonight was that he wants to stay active here. As he put it, "I won't hide in the woods." Andrea?
Thank you, Bob. Also in Moscow tonight, NBC's Jim Maseda, with a look at the Gorbachev legacy, a monument to one man's ability to change the world, but a flawed monument.
By American presidential standards, Mikhail Gorbachev accomplished enough in his 7-year term to qualify for a bust on Mount Rushmore. He single-handedly challenged the monolith of communism, daring it to reform. His call for glasnost, openness, and perestroika, economic restructuring, became the slogans of his era and household words around the world. He persuaded his enemies the evil empire was not evil, negotiated cuts in the superpowers' nuclear arsenals, making the world a safer place. And he changed its map as well, allowing communism in Eastern Europe to crumble, the 2 Germanys to unite. Ending over 40 years of Cold War tension, he pulled Soviet troops out of Europe and out of a bloody conflict in Afghanistan. Indeed, the West could do business with Gorbachev. It grew to trust his smile, his wit. Gorbimania was born. At home, this was perestroika, empty shelves, lives of tedium and fear. Gorbachev preached market reforms, but his devotion to socialism kept real reform in check. The result, the old system broke down with only chaos to replace it.
Gorbachev should be put on trial. He's ruined this country. He took bread from the people as well as hope.
As republics sought to determine their own fate, Gorbachev clung to the Kremlin's power, cracking down in the Baltics, beefing up the KGB to maintain order, but nothing worked.
Gorbachev, very clever, very interesting man, brilliant politician, but at the same time, he's playing coach without team.
When, in desperation, Gorbachev finally joined with the forces of reform, it was too late. Darker forces struck back. After the failed coup, Gorbachev's power base was gone. The party disbanded, the KGB reformed, the army swung to the side of new heroes.
He was fighting not for any political program, but rather for his personal survival.
In the end, the man of the decade was a president without a country. And when he did step aside, it was still not clear if he had been the first of a new breed or the last of the old. Jim Nasade of NBC News, Moscow.
Gorbachev's former partner in ending the Cold War, Ronald Reagan, praised him today as a courageous leader who will live forever in history. President Bush will address the nation tonight on what these dramatic changes mean for the United States. NBC's John Cochran is at the White House tonight. John?
Andrea, it took a long time for Bush and Gorbachev to become friends, but eventually they did, and now Bush is sorry to see him go.
They used to carry them out feet first, and it was at the funeral of Gorbachev's predecessor that then Vice President Bush got a look at this new kind of Soviet leader. Bush was intrigued but skeptical. Maybe Margaret Thatcher thought she could do business with the new man, but Bush wasn't so sure. After all, Gorbachev was a product of Communist Party infighting, not to be trusted. By the end of the Reagan years, even Ronald Reagan thought Gorbachev was okay. But although Bush smiled on cue, he had no intention of being taken in by the smoothie from the Kremlin. And as president, Bush got very tired of Gorbachev upstaging him with imaginative proposals to reduce arms and troop levels. So Bush started coming up with his own proposals, and he found that Gorbachev was for real, that he wanted cooperation more than competition. By the time they met in stormy Malta 2 years ago, Bush wanted to help Gorbachev rebuild the Soviet economy. That economic cooperation never resulted in much, but Bush continued to be supportive of Gorbachev, even when Boris Yeltsin looked like the wave of the future. And now Bush would certainly agree with Thatcher's assessment today of Gorbachev.
His standing will go up and up as people realize how much they owe to him.
And President Bush may even recognize something of himself in Gorbachev. After all, Gorbachev was a master at foreign affairs who won the world's applause. But he ran into big problem when it came to problems at home, especially the economy. Does that remind you of anyone else? Right, and it's probably been noticed by George Bush, too. Andrea?
Thank you, John. The president's address from the White House will be televised at 9 tonight Eastern Time. NBC News will carry it live. When Nightly News continues, the middle class is feeling the pinch and making politicians pay. And tonight's vital sign, Betty Rollin on why the food eaten by poor people is harmful to their health.
Hi, I'm John Madden with some of America's Olympic hopefuls, announcing Chrysler Plymouth's Drive for the Goal holiday clearance. That means a donation to the U.S. Olympic team and big savings to you. Up to $2,000 or low financing. Save on Voyager and Acclaim. Get $1,000 back on Sundance. Get big savings on Imperial and LeBaron sedan. You save and the Olympic team wins. What could be better? See your Chrysler Plymouth dealers now. The holiday clearance ends soon.
Because sometimes the day ends and the pain doesn't, we've created Tylenol PM. It's more than relief. It's relief for those times when you can't sleep. Tylenol PM has extra-strength Tylenol pain reliever to help stop your nighttime aches and pains, plus a gentle ingredient to help you sleep. So you can wake up refreshed in the morning. From the name you trust comes Tylenol PM, so you can rest easy.
Christmas 1991, as always, a day for prayer, a day for family reunions, a day for giving and receiving gifts. Many people added to the Christmas spirit by helping feed the hungry and the homeless, whose numbers this year have been increased by the recession. But hard times create problems for many people, not only the poorest among us. Middle-class people who may have thought themselves immune from hardship are also hurting. Some of them blame politicians, and they're getting even in their own way. NBC's national correspondent Bob Kerr.
Democrat Jim Florio still is governor of New Jersey, though in the last election he lost everything but his title.
I got the message, I understand, and some of my programs drove the voters to vote in the way they did.
When he took office 3 years ago, Florio wanted to show fellow Democrats they no longer had to be as intimidated about taxes as he thought they were during the Reagan years.
The 80s binge came out of the whole mentality that there never were any difficult decisions that you had to make. What I'm saying is that the decade of the 90s will be a total repudiation of the idea that you don't have to face up to problems.
To tackle New Jersey's problems, Florio, after pledging to raise taxes only as a last resort, quickly pushed through the largest tax increase in state history. Higher sales tax for everyone, higher income tax but only for couples earning more than $70,000 and singles more than $40,000. Even though some of the new revenue was used to reduce middle-class property taxes, there was such a rebellion over the income and sales taxes that at the first opportunity, voters punished Florio. They put Republicans in control of the state legislature. With such big majorities, they now can reverse anything Florio has done and prevent anything he tries to do. Florio now makes an extra effort to build a consensus, but says intense resistance to taxes and complaints about government programs make it tough to reach angry voters.
A lot of us are tired of seeing our tax money go to social giveaway programs like welfare, particularly when able-bodied people can work.
Government services used to increase when taxes did, but now the sagging economy causes lower than expected sales and corporate income tax revenue and budget cuts. So it's higher taxes for fewer services. A tough sell for any governor. Bob Kerr, NBC News, Trenton, New Jersey.
In a moment, better health for poor people through better nutrition.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way.
For thousands of great sale items, this is the best week to buy at Sears. All furniture is on sale. Save big on all sofas, all sectionals, all bedrooms, all dinettes, all recliners, all mattresses. So hurry, Sears' best week to buy ends soon.
Now, you get all new chances to be a millionaire at American Family. You can be the winner of this million or that million and on to the biggest prize of all, $10 million. Watch for the only sweepstakes with my picture. All new $1 million prizes and the $10 million you can win just weeks from now. Be sure to enter the only sweepstakes with my picture. Last chance before I announce the winning number next month. Hurry.
Some days my minor arthritis acts up, and I really feel the pain. I used to take aspirin. Now I've switched to Advil. Advil relieves the pain in my stiff joints. In fact, one Advil is as effective as 2 regular aspirin. And Advil is gentler to my stomach. Maybe that's why doctors recommend Advil for minor arthritis pain more than any other brand. For my pain, I simply prefer Advil. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
For thousands of great sale items, this is the best week to buy at Sears. All furniture is on sale. Our Madison sofa and love seat is just $599.99. Save $300. Also save on dinettes, mattresses, and more. So hurry, Sears' best week to buy ends soon.
Tonight's Daily Difference, vital signs, killer food. On this day of feasting on holiday roasts and other rich foods, a timely reminder. Even though we should all limit our intake of fat, many poor people especially are still eating the wrong foods. NBC's Betty Rollin.
This is the food America loves. Some people have learned to eat less of it. Others have not.
I know it's bad, but I still like it.
Everyone in my household is like junk food junkies.
I eat pork, I eat a lot of eggs, and I eat the wrong things.
46-year-old New Yorker Michael Franklin has high blood pressure and a few years ago had a stroke. And when they told you about your diet, did you think they were crazy?
Sure. because I was raised on this food.
According to a recent Department of Agriculture study, poor people eat as much fatty meat and fried food as ever. Hunger is a problem in America, but a major cause of poor health among low-income people is not what they don't eat, but what they do. In Milwaukee, 61-year-old Betty Graves fights a food battle every night in front of the TV.
It's just like natural to get up and you'd have to be munching something. Popcorn with salt and butter, or ice cream. All the little goodies that you shouldn't have.
These are affected by our diets.
Betty attends a nutrition class at a family health clinic. She's trying, but it's hard for her to stop eating the way she does.
It passes the time, the boredom, the depression. A lot of times that's what it is too. Long, cold nights sitting there by yourself.
And all these fresh vegetables are good buys now.
Another Milwaukee program teaches that healthy food isn't necessarily more expensive. Sometimes it's just that people don't know how to cook. When life is a struggle, they're often not motivated to learn.
They have multiple problems, and nutrition a lot of times is a low priority with them.
Single mother Rosemary Guile would like nutrition to be a high priority, but her kids like junk food, and at the end of a working day, she likes easy.
Pizzas, because they're cheap, you know, and it's hard to say no to them when they are so cheap and they're convenient. You just throw them in the oven and 10 minutes later you eat.
And what American families want, American supermarkets provide. Entire aisles of fried snacks, sodas, pizzas. Fast food is big business in the market and on the road. It's a way of life in this country.
We're looking at something that doesn't appear to be an emergency. A person who has enough to eat is not an emergency to those who are looking on. But yet, in the end, these people will slowly destroy themselves.
The low-fat, salt, and sugar message has been heard in America, but has not been put into practice by the people who need it the most. Betty Rollin, NBC News, Milwaukee.
In a moment, a toxic waste dump shows signs of life.
80% of nation on flu alert. Earliest outbreak in 10 years. Severe flu season underway. What will you do? Get serious medicine. Doctors recommend TheraFlu. TheraFlu is hot liquid medicine. Strong therapy for flu symptoms. Hot liquid therapy that works fast. What will you do when you get the flu? Doctors recommend TheraFlu. Strong therapy for flu symptoms.
Hi, I'm John Madden with some of America's Olympic hopefuls, announcing Chrysler Plymouth's Drive for the Goal holiday clearance. That means a donation to the U.S. Olympic team and big savings to you. Up to $2,000 or low financing. Save on Voyager and Acclaim. Get $1,000 back on Sundance. Get big savings on Imperial and LeBaron sedan. You save and the Olympic team wins. What could be better? See your Chrysler Plymouth dealers now. The holiday clearance ends soon.
Go see my granddaughter. Thank you, Jesus. Think about your daydreams, what you would do if you won $1 million out of the blue. Miracles can happen for you. Publishers Clearinghouse, the house where dreams come true.
Morning breath.
As soon as I have my coffee, it's all gone.
Whether you admit it or not, it's a problem.
Okay, I have morning breath, but it doesn't bother anyone.
Don't be so sure. Mine's not so bad. Morning breath's not as bad as you think. It's worse. So get Scope. Its 2 powerful ingredients kill 90% of the bacteria that cause morning breath.
Was my morning breath really that bad?
There's no denying morning breath, so save your breath with Scope.
Assignment Earth on this Christmas night, the resiliency of nature. NBC's Roger O'Neill reports that some animals are doing very well, thank you, even though they live in what may be the most polluted square mile on the planet.
It's in the ground. It's in the water. But the animals don't seem to care. They are, in fact, thriving. an oasis for wildlife in a toxic wasteland.
I often study messes. And as a connoisseur of such things, I'd say you have probably one of the most interesting messes in the United States, right outside your door.
At the edge of Denver, the Rocky Mountain Arsenal, 27 square miles of land, with as much as a third of it poisoned by the U.S. Army in the 1940s making chemical weapons, poisoned by Shell Oil in the 1950s making pesticides. But tests show the level of poison in animals here is actually less than that of wildlife elsewhere. The proliferation of wildlife has turned this environmental nightmare into an environmental dream to make the Arsenal a national wildlife refuge.
But first, we ought to clean it up.
Colorado Governor Roy Romer is one of the few people afraid the refuge idea will get in the way of cleaning up the Arsenal.
I frankly am concerned that they may use, they being the federal government, may use the excuse of, hey, it's wildlife, we don't need to clean it up so good.
The Environmental Protection Agency, at a recent conference on the future of the Arsenal, tried to allay that fear.
By creating a refuge, we're not intending to affect the decision on how clean we clean the Arsenal up to.
But with federal budget deficits and thousands of other polluted sites in need of attention, a $2 billion cleanup job here may not be worth it as long as the animals are having such a good time. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Denver.
A partridge in a pear tree. To buy that today, plus 2 turtle doves and all those other gifts for the 12 days of Christmas, well, a Philadelphia bank figures it would cost $71,907.19.
Nighttime, one of the worst times for pain. Pain that's hard to face alone. That's why you need new Ultra Strength Bengay. It's the strongest Bengay ever for muscle pain that's hard to ignore. Minor arthritis pain, back pain, pain that seems worse at night. New Ultra Strength Bengay with added power and a third pain reliever. Deep, penetrating warmth for fast, long-lasting relief. You can say goodnight to your pain with new Ultra Strength Bengay.
Do your holiday shopping with the Discover card, and you'll not only give, you'll receive a cashback bonus for every charge. It pays to Discover.
Every time it rains.
The Discover card pays a cashback bonus on every penny you charge.
Pennies from heaven.
It pays to Discover.
I saw my doctor because the pain was so bad. I was afraid I needed surgery for my hemorrhoids. I was itching. The burning was awful. But my doctor said my hemorrhoids weren't serious. I didn't need surgery. He told me it was time I started using Preparation H.
Preparation H helps shrink swelling of inflamed hemorrhoidal tissues and often brings relief from pain, itching, and burning for hours.
What a difference Preparation H makes.
Doctor recommended Preparation H.
This is a day I will never forget.
Think about your daydreams and what you would do if you won 10 million out of the blue. Oh my God! Miracles can happen for you. Publishers Clearinghouse, a house where dreams come true.
On this day of momentous change, Pope John Paul II said that peace is a gift and a task. Jane Pauley will be here tomorrow for Tom Brokaw. I'm Andrea Mitchell, leaving you with warm holiday greetings from the men and women who bring you this program all year.
Next on News Center 13, police and the FBI searching for kidnappers and their victim.
Meanwhile, former co-workers react to the kidnapping of Robert Sternberg. I'm Sharon Howell, now have the latest details.
A Des Moines restaurant opens its doors to a free Christmas meal for those in need. We'll have details.
And beautiful weather for this Christmas day. It looks like it will continue right into the weekend. Ahmed Wilson, I'll have the weather forecast for you.
And we'll take you to Christmas Mass at the Vatican, all next on your 24-hour news source.
Eeny, meeny, dipperini, have some with your chipperini. Achi-wachi, achi-wachi, party dip. Take a cracker, take a lick, take an orange carrot stick. Achi-wachi, achi-wachi, Mexican. Oh, there! Take a pretzel, take a chip, sink it in your AE dip. Toasted onion, French onion, garlic and chive. Eeny, meeny, dipperini, achi-wachi, zipperini, do the AE dip.
In the past, this car has been praised for holding its value. This one for outperforming the stock market. Over the past year, however, no other luxury car in its class has retained more of its value than the Lexus LS 400. Maybe this is what they mean by a new world order. Visit Betts Lexus Des Moines and see how smart owning an LS 400 can be.
Save 25 to 50% during the KG Men's Store entire stock suit and sport coat sale. Get the guaranteed lowest price or we'll refund the difference. Choose a Raffinati Wool Blend suit, $149.99. Johnny Carson or Botany Gladiator suit, $179.99. Distinctive Evan Pacone suits, $249.99. And Farrow Wool sport coats, $69.99. For guaranteed lowest prices, shop KG Men's Store.
You're watching WHO TV 13 Des Moines, your 24-hour news source. And now, John Bachman, Kim Kerrigan, Rick Silvestrini with sports, and meteorologist Gary Amble with tonight's forecast. This is News Center 13 at 6.
A nationwide search continues for this Des Moines man and his abductors, but still no luck in finding them. Good evening, everyone. A former WHO television anchor is still missing.
Robert Sternberg was apparently abducted just outside his Des Moines home early yesterday. Sternberg, known as Bob Henry on television in the 1960s and early 1970s, hasn't been heard from since two men were seen getting into his car. Police believe Sternberg's disappearance is related to an earlier abduction of a man in Minneapolis and the attempted abduction of a woman in Urbandale. Des Moines police are alerting law enforcement agencies nationwide to be on the lookout for Robert Sternberg's Red Thunderbird. News Center 13's Sharon Holland spent some time with some of his co-workers and friends today. She joins us from the newsroom with their reaction to Sternberg's disappearance. Sharon?
Well, Tom, those who worked with Robert Sternberg say he's a man who's been in a lot of tough situations before, and they're confident that he'll come through this ordeal unharmed.
Law enforcement agencies from here to Phoenix have been put on alert for a 1990 Red Thunderbird driven by 70-year-old Robert Henry Sternberg.
Today's broadcast had few new clues into Robert Sternberg's kidnapping. Police believe he was abducted at gunpoint and is being forced to drive his kidnappers to Arizona.
Bob Henry.
For many WHO employees, the news has taken on a personal edge. WHO was Sternberg's station for a decade. On air, he went by the name Bob Henry. Growing up, Chuck Shockley followed Henry on the news. They later became co-workers.
As a child, he was very authoritative. He had a deep, gravelly voice, and he had that air of a news guy about him. And from the looks of this picture, you know, and I haven't seen this picture in a while. I mean, this brings back a lot of memories.
Federal investigators have spent hours knocking on doors at Sternberg's apartment complex. He was last seen early yesterday pulling out of his garage with two men in his car. Since then, Sternberg's family and friends have kept close vigil by the telephone, but late today still had no word. Christmas night, the news was still sinking in.
It can happen to somebody else, but it never happens to a news person. And that was my first reaction. I thought, my Lord, what's Henry getting himself into?
Bob Wilbanks, former WHO news director, hired Sternberg in the 60s. The two were featured in this 1966 newspaper ad. Wilbanks believes Sternberg might be able to talk his way out of his ordeal.
If those two guys would just turn down their stereo system in the car, and listen to him, that chances are they'll be driving him home this evening.
Now, Sternberg's family is also expressing some concern about a medical condition that he does have. He does not have his medication with him, so they are very concerned about that also, Tom.
Okay, Sharon, a tough way for his family and for him to spend the holidays. Thank you for that report.
Des Moines police have arrested a man from St. Petersburg, Florida, who allegedly beat a Des Moines man with a hammer. The incident took place at this apartment complex on Hickman last night. Police say 35-year-old Charles Aldred entered the complex and severely beat 32-year-old Tim McGreen with a hammer. Authorities tell us Aldred was upset at how the victim was treating his wife, whom Aldred is divorcing. McGreen tonight remains in an Iowa City hospital. Aldred has been charged with attempted murder and willful injury. Iowa governments and agencies will continue to get their share of millions of dollars from the Iowa Trust Fund in the next 2 weeks. State Insurance Commissioner David Lyons distributed the first $9.5 million on Christmas Eve. Additional payments of the same amount will be made on the next 2 Mondays. But even after that, $30 million is distributed. Another $71 million from the fund will remain frozen until the courts decide who gets it.
A Des Moines restaurant did its part to make Christmas a little brighter for some folks who otherwise wouldn't have a very Merry Christmas. This is the 8th year in a row that Antlers Restaurant has served a free Christmas meal to the needy. A traditional holiday meal with all the trimmings was served up, as you can see. Restaurant owner Al Foggia says it's his way of saying thank you after recovering from open-heart surgery. After his surgery several years ago, he vowed to serve a Christmas meal to the needy every year, and he's holding to his promise so far. Tens of thousands of people attended Christmas Mass in St. Peter's Square at the Vatican today. The Mass held by Pope John Paul II extended from last night into today and was broadcast live throughout the world on television. During the Mass, the Pope called for an end to the civil war in Yugoslavia.
You may remember it was 2 years ago that we last had a brown Christmas, and temperatures were actually warmer than they were today. Let's go to Ed Wilson in the Weather Center to see if travel home after the holiday will be nice. Ed?
Actually, travel will be very good throughout the weekend for those folks who are staying over throughout the weekend. We will see warm temperatures continuing. Now, we've had warm temperatures before in the past, but temperatures are going to be holding on rather nicely throughout the holiday weekend. And we will see temperatures, especially for tomorrow, holding on into the 40s and right around 42 degrees down in St. Louis, at 48 degrees, 42 in Kansas City. And with that, the warm temperatures have loosened up my mic. I had to drop it there. Sorry, I'm hanging on to it. But we'll be back with the rest of the forecast, and I'll make sure that microphone is on the tie when we come back at 6 o'clock.
Okay, thanks a lot. Very smooth, though, the way he was juggling that thing around.
That is so smooth, absolutely. When the news continues, we'll tell you how former hostages are celebrating their Christmas holiday.
And if the riverboats aren't your style, how about video gambling? We'll take you to South Dakota for a sampling of that. Stay tuned.
The audit is about to begin at Charles Gabus Ford. Hundreds of new and used cars and trucks must be off our books by January 4th. But till then,